Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this stormy day in Northern California. I want to just empower you to take this short presentation to your heart because we are facing some of the most difficult time in human history with environmental toxins and accelerated stress from the environmental pollution. Next slide. Today, when I start talking about environmental pollutions, of course, we don't want to overwhelm people, but we also don't want to make this task too simple, right? So what are we talking about? We're talking about chemical pollutions. It's in the foundation. It's in the foundation of this presentation. Is really how much chemicals we are now putting into our body, our environment. The reason chemical toxicities are really difficult to address is because oftentimes they're in low doses. They are endocrine disrupting chemicals, so they actually work very potently in our body. They are also in synergy with other chemicals. The second class of pollution is electromagnetic frequencies, radiation, loss of increase of ozone pollution. We have lots of issues with atmosphere radiation due to climate change. Number 3 is heavy metal, which is the old pollutants. Unfortunately, they become more accessible to our body because of the EMF and glyphosate. We're going to talk a little bit about glyphosate, why it is such a hard chemical on our body. The last one is mold and biotoxins. Mold biotoxins are often becoming more toxic because of the EMF and glyphosate effects. So why EMF and glyphosate are making everything triple, 10 times, 20 times, 100 times more toxic? Because they cause disruption of the natural barriers, which is the respiratory system, the digestive system. Suddenly, these chemicals and heavy metals become more accessible to our inner environment. And that is why detoxification must be the #1 before you address any other problem. If people just start giving hormones, stem cells, all these other things without addressing toxicity, we're not going to have sustainable result. And the sad thing is often now we wasted a lot of time and energy and money and resources if we still have the toxins on board bombarding us every day. Next slide. So the 2 principles, back slide.
Oh, I went too far? Sorry.
Yeah, here. The 2 principles to decrease toxic load really involve decreased exposure, and then which is a separate webinar, right? The second one is we need to provide a consistent, safe methodology that everyone can do at home. I have a patient asking me, Dr. Lu, what is the best exercise you can do, right? The best exercise is something you can do every day. Doesn't matter what it is. The problem with detoxification program is people go to a detox center, go to a doctor's office, and that's something they can't do every day. So we need to provide something that people can do at home every day. So that's why we are doing the seminar to make it simple for busy people. Next slide. So first of all, we need to understand what toxins do when they come in. Let's say you ingested a handful of chemicals yesterday by going out to eat. They will come, and mainly the most of them will come through the gut into the liver, hopefully quickly come out. But unfortunately, many of them, toxins don't just come out. They actually go to the brain, they go to your fatty tissue, some of them go to the bone, some of them linger around between in the circulation and the skin and your body, right? So the percentage of coming out is very questionable at this point in our life. People have problems with detox, such as glutathione issues, they don't have the transferase. Those people will be more prone to toxic exposure and accumulation. Therefore, decrease exposure, reduce distribution, avoid redistribution, increase elimination and detox become a very important systematic, approach to living in modern society. Next slide. So one of the things people don't talk about is when we are trying to detox, there's so many detox programs or weight loss, right? Weight loss is really a form of detox, is they don't understand about redistribution. So people say, okay, Dr. Lu, I want to do for 10 days. What happens when you are reducing the fat content is the toxins stored in the fat will start to come back. They're back out into your body. They're moving around. If you don't eliminate very quickly, the toxin will just move to another organ. The most important organs are bone marrow. They're very, very sensitive to toxins, and oftentimes heavy metal and glyphosate, those toxins tend to concentrate in the bone marrow. So drinking bone broth is really something we don't want to have, right? Brain is another place. And also toxin sensitive organs. Recently we had a woman, she did a detox for her autoimmune, and then she developed breast cancer a couple months later. Now I'm not saying the detox triggered it, but at least it gets redistributed into the breast. Ovaries, uterus, and endocrine glands are very sensitive organs. We have heard numerous stories that people try to remove heavy metal from their mouths and they went into adrenal fatigue. So it's really important to understand the toxin redistribution issue. And the worst type and the most common is drastic weight loss system without detoxification. Very important to keep that in mind. If you are doing some kind of diet or exercise or fasting, understand about elimination and detoxification is very important. The next slide. So one of the common problem we want to go through this, I encourage everybody to take a picture of this, is number one, is we don't have a complete or adequate cellular biotransformation. And when the toxins are coming out of the cell, we want to make sure we have adequate lymphatic flow and blood circulation. Then move to the liver, we need to support the phase 1, phase 2, which is everybody understand. Number 5 is a lot of the toxin will get recycled. Leaky gut is a very bad place because the toxin just come out and then you just leak right back into your system. For elimination, we're going to really focusing on why sauna is really important, daily elimination methodology to purge out the toxins. Low body temperature is another one. It's very common. Hypothyroid happens in 80% Americans now because of the toxicity. Those thyroid receptors are blocked. Acidic food, which is pretty much everybody understand, and stress. Stress actually increases sympathetic overcharge. So the parasympathetic and the endocrine system are now working to help you eliminate the toxins. So it's really important to manage stress very well. Lastly is your immune system. Oftentimes people doing a detox and get sick, which is actually not good because sick will actually redistribute the toxins and harm your immune system and causing low downtime of your life. So we want to make sure every part of the system is adequately supported so people can do it every day. So next slide, please. So now we have developed the system with our Orenda program. People always say, okay, Dr. Lu, what is the difference that make the Orenda detoxification program more complete, right? So the first step, number 1, is to support your neuroendocrine system. And the atropine have been used for 18 years to help people dealing with daily stress, dealing with age-related decline, dealing with sympathetic overdrive. So it's a really good remedy, or I shouldn't say remedy, a nutritional support system to help our brain, our autonomic nervous system, our endocrine system. Number 2 is the Orenda Immune. It provides 3 things. Robbie, if you move one more slide, okay, the thing will come out. So the first step, the Orenda Immune provides cellular detox. So how does that happen? It's called glucuronidation. Glucuronidation is a built-in system our body use glucarate to bind to the chemical toxins intracellularly and cellularly, and have formed this compound that is water soluble. And that process is called glucuronidation. Next step is now we go through the macro circulation, which will be enhanced by the sauna we're going to talk about. And then next step is we're going to go into the liver. So in the liver, already immune, the glucaric acid will support the phase 1, phase 2 again, together with a nutritional program. Next slide. And the toxin will come out of the liver into the gallbladder. And from gallbladder, next slide, will go into the small bowel. The problem in this step is, remember that recycle. Recycle is very common in leaky gut, and also there is a natural enterohepatic recycle system to recycle about 90% of the bile. Now that could be a problem, because if you don't block this step, the toxin you just come out of into the bowel gets back into the liver, causing the recycle going on here, right? So the Orenda Immune has a beta-glucan, which is a very, very fibrous polysaccharides, and also the glucarate, which would deactivate the glucuronidase in the gut, which is also a recycle component. So Orenda Immune has the ability to actually support the blockage of the recycle, okay? The next step here is kidney. So kidney apparently, is able to eliminate a large quantity, but we must understand Americans' kidneys are very bombarded with heavy metals and toxins already, especially high protein diet. Most Americans already have subclinical renal problems. So we want to spare the kidney and go into the skin. The next one will be the sweating. The reason skin is very, very safe is it is the largest organ in the body, has a large surface. So skin elimination through a sauna system, today Robbie is going to talk to us about, is fantastic support in the entire flow to make sure the toxins are coming all the way out. And of course, in my program, we added a digestive support as humic acid, fulvic acid very soon. And we have fibers, prebiotic, probiotic, digestive enzyme. We also have a really incredibly organic whole food diet suggestion. So today, we want to really focus from here on the elimination. The next one.
I did it.
Okay, so I think I'm just slow probably. So Robbie, why don't you take over from here and introduce to our people why your sauna is different.
Wow, you hit on so many great topics, and I'm so happy that you did, because in the beginning, many people misunderstand the effects of electromagnetic fields, and if it were just a cell phone challenge, that would be enough. That would be bad enough as it is. But now we've got these, smart meters and hotspots, and the cars are coming loaded with these wireless devices, and we've gone from 4G to 5G, starting in California across the country now, and those wavelengths go, a half a mile and through cinder block. And so we're being bombarded with these frequencies that oscillate at a much higher frequency than our body frequency. And so it pulls us out of whack, and that causes havoc to everything else. Body electric and is another big stressor, and then that lowers our immune system and makes us a lot more susceptible to get sick. So detoxing from EMF, or at least being aware about EMF, because it's one of those ones that you can't smell, hear, see, it's hard to react to it because it's not being managed by most of our senses. And yet it's becoming a very important player in our whole general health and wellness. So, and the other thing I loved is that you talked about was creating a detox protocol, like almost first, or making it part of your daily routine. Because when I'm asked, and I teach very often on detoxification, because the sauna is it's almost like the hub of the wagon wheel that can create that healing platform, particularly on the detox side. And so, people ask me, well, how often should I do sauna? So then I ask them rhetorically, how often do you get toxic? Because if you get toxic on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tell me where you're living. I want to move to that part of the country. As far as I can see, if you're living in, particularly in an urban environment, and you're breathing, you're eating, and you're drinking water, you're getting toxic every day because of the environment that we're living in. And so I'd like to kind of focus on the infrared sauna not being like a something to use as a vehicle to get well per se, but more like a lifestyle choice, that this is in the environment in the world that we're living in today, that you just make this part of your daily routine. And I almost look at it like when I go do my sauna in the morning, first thing, Dr. Lou, I meditate, I set my intentions. The day is quiet, it's just around sunrise. And for me, I feel like I'm giving myself love, you know? So it's not work and it's not a treatment. It's actually part of my routine in the day and the way I honor myself and my body to keep that constitution. And I'll tell you something else. For people in the viewers that have young families, when they see the parents get into sauna and do it routinely, then the kids want to do it. And then all of a sudden, it's not a foreign, it's not work. It's just, hey, we're a family that does sauna to feel good and be healthy and live out our dreams and pursue our bliss, right? So with that, I just want to kind of focus on what we've developed, which is a very unique application. It's a portable format. And by many of the integrated functional doctors and people, on all now, everybody's embracing it. They'll often tell me that it's probably the best single natural detox device that you can get. So now remember, well, first off, Therasage, my approach is very unusual because we've studied nature and we've also studied ancient cultures. And so my approach is unique because I have some theories, and one of my theories is, as advanced as we are in many ways in our society, we've departed greatly from the way kind of nature intended us to be. Because if you dial back to the days of Buddha, Moses, Jesus, all those guys, right? They were walking the land. We were living in caves. We were living on the land. We were living in tents, And so we woke up to sunrise, and really that's what that sauna represents. We've harnessed the full spectrum of the infrared frequencies. That's the near, middle, and far, and I'm going to get into why that's important in a minute. We've made it super affordable because it's not the traditional wooden type saunas, and I'll explain to you why we've taken that road particularly. So we made it really affordable. We've also made it portable so that it folds up, and if you've got a beautiful home on the beach, it might be a small apartment or a small home, super expensive, but not a lot of space. Or you might be living in the middle of the country where you've got a basement and a lot of rooms in the house, but you may not be able to afford those wooden traditional ones that could be in the thousands. So we've made a device that's in and around $1,000, Mac Daddy, the all-in loaded up one. And so it's affordable, it's portable, and we've made it so easy to use. I mean, virtually you take it out of the box and you just plug it in, and sets up in about a minute or two. My best time, by the way, is 40 seconds. And then you can take your session. So if you don't have the room, you can just pack it up in about a minute or so. Or if you do have the room, you leave it set up. That's what we do in our house. All of our devices are listed with FDA. So because I've chosen, to kind of talk to doctors and groups like yourselves out there, that have practices and see a flow of patients. If I teach you how to use this sauna as a key to improve the efficacy of whatever protocol, that you're doing in your practice, and you pair that up, then your patient or your customer goes home and they get to use it in the home every day. They start feeling better almost within the first 2 weeks from one thing or another. And I'll get into that in a minute, because this sauna is so unique because there's something in it for everybody. But what we've done is we've harnessed natural sunlight. And so really you could go out and you could do this by just walking outside and being outside in the middle or the right time of day. But as you just pointed out, Dr. Lou, you're in the middle of a snowstorm. And now it's middle of winter, and many parts of the country you just can't go outside at the right time for the right amount of time to get the ample amount of infrared frequencies to create that healing event. So we bundled all that up, and we made it sort of easy for you to do it. Basically for general health and wellness, it's a 30-minute commitment every day. So if you can't figure out how to carve out 30 minutes of your day to help yourself to create a healing platform and a health and wellness plan to reverse disease and all that stuff, my goodness, I think it's the simplest, easiest way to add incredible amount of health and wellness to yourself and to your family. So what's also unique about our approach is that we're probably the hottest sauna on the planet. We go up to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Even the wooden ones, the most expensive wooden ones, may only get up to like 155 and 160 degrees, and that may take them more than an hour to do that. We go from room temperature to 140 degrees in less than 15 minutes. So we heat up real fast. We have an extended timer so that if you do have a chronic ailment, that you don't have to constantly be resetting your controller. You just set it and forget it and go in and enjoy it. It's super inexpensive to run. I mean, in Florida, a kilowatt of power costs 7.5 cents. We use less than a kilowatt in 1 hour treatment. So it costs less than 10 cents to run this thing. That's, amazing, right? And it's complete. There's nothing else to buy. It even comes with an extra little zip out collar. You just get it, pull it out, take it out of the case. It comes with its own little carrying case, and you plug it in, set it up, plug it in, and hit the button and get going. That's how great it is. So this is a closer look at what comes in the sauna. So in fact, we've got that, black sauna with a terry cloth collar. Again, it's a soft cabin. The new Therasage 360 Plus comes with fortified near frequencies, and I'll explain in a minute why that is. And then we've created kind of a spa look with adding a bamboo chair and a bamboo fashioned infrared foot pad. And so when you're sitting in the sauna, you're basically bathing. That's why we call it the Thera 360, because you're bathing in 360 degrees of frequencies all around you. So we do take a full spectrum approach. The new 360 Plus has the near tri-light technology. That's brand new. We, about 12, almost 14 years ago now, I had a vision about EMF, and it really, I never thought that it could ever get as bad as it is now with the 3, 4, 5G. Here the armies are using 10G in our country. Here in China, they're using 20Gs already for the military use. So you're talking about a lot of frequency and high-powered frequency. And you already talked about how disruptive these can be when you combine it with glyphosates and other, environmental chemicals and the chemtrails with all the aluminum and heavy metals that are now in our foods and environment. It's getting to be pretty bad. But my vision then was that basically I took the position in my vision that EMF was bad for you. And this was 14 years ago when it's clearly not like what it is now. And I thought if the body had to choose between harmful EMF or the beauty and graceful healing energies of sun frequencies, what would it do? Would it choose to protect against EMF or just forget about that and just receive the healing properties of infrared? So, I didn't know the answer, Dr. Lou, but what I did know was I didn't want to have your body have to choose. So I just figured out a way to remediate and block and shield the EMF part. And so in our sauna, you're sitting in the sauna and you're just getting delivered 100% of those infrared frequencies without any of the other harmful influences that would prevent your body from receiving all the love and attention that it deserves. So that's a big one. The other thing that we do is we pepper the inside of the panels with natural tourmaline that generate 1,200 times more of the negative ions than normal air. And the sauna is also electrically grounded. So when you're sitting in there, it's like a big grounding mat. And really what that's doing is bringing the earth charge into the body. And as you probably know, most of us, because we don't touch the earth anymore, and well, people in California, maybe where you live, Dr. Lou, they kick their shoes off, they hug oak trees, they walk in the sand, and they enjoy nature. But most of America doesn't do that. Most of America just gets up, throws their shoes on, they don't touch the earth anymore, they don't get that grounding energy from the earth. It's so important to offset all the other kinds of negative energies that are all around us. And so when you're in that sauna, the sauna not only detoxes you from the EMF that you may be storing in your muscles and tissues, but it also gives you extra negative ions. So it's fortifying your body battery. And that's kind of a really cool thing. So we do that with natural gemstones. You probably don't know a lot of this stuff, so I'm glad that we're talking today. Yeah, and so, you know, one of the things that I thought was important to mention, that, you know, this portable sauna, it's personal. You have it in your home. And many people, they ask me when I teach, I've been teaching at Hippocrates Health Resort for 15 years. And they ask me, they go, hey, you know, I've got a sauna at the gym. Why is this any different than the sauna at the gym? And, you know, most of them, first off, they don't have the infrared sauna. They'll have a steam room, or they'll have the dry, like Swedish hot rock saunas. And by the way, those are pretty good. But what the difference is that infrared frequencies are actually a radiant, it's a vibration, it's a wavelength. And the vibration actually vibrates, it's called bioresonance, at the same frequency as the water inside of us. And so the way our bodies are set up is that we've got a layer of fat just under our skin. And that's set up by, you know, nature to protect our insides from extreme heat or extreme cold. So when you're going in the hot rock sauna or the wood or the steam room, those have to be at super elevated temperatures, because that's what's called convection heat. The element in the steam room heats up creates the steam that heats up the ambient air that touches your skin, and it's got to be at a hugely high temperature, like 185 or 200 degrees Fahrenheit, in order for it to penetrate through the skin, through that insulating layer that's supposed to protect you, to get inside to cause you to sweat and you know, raise your core temperature a little bit. Now, that's doing a lot of work. And so when you walk out of sauna, that kind of sauna, the therapy's gone. And plus, we're not really made to live in or be in 185 degrees Fahrenheit temperature. We start to wilt, right? Now, with infrared, it works a different principle, because the sunlight frequencies, they don't heat up the air, the radiant air. They go right through the skin, and they vibrate in the fat, the water. They vibrate the water in the fat in that insulating layer, because it harmonizes at the same frequency, and it just seamlessly penetrates into the body. And that's where all the love and real magic starts happening, because these frequencies, infrared frequencies, harbor in your muscles and in your organs, and that vibration, that bioresonance, creates heat, and those organs are very vascular, so they warm up the organ, they warm up the vessels, it creates vasodilation, and then the metabolism starts to improve, you start sweating out. That same vibration breaks up all the bonds between the heavy metals and the environmental toxins that are in your fat and is stored in your tissues, and they start dumping into your bloodstream, and then you start sweating them out, and it's amazing. It's truly amazing. So let me just continue here. Earlier I said that we were going to talk just briefly about the different frequencies. So the full spectrum approach, you have the near frequencies that are skin related. They help with dilating those micro vessels, the little capillaries. They generate the natural production of nitric oxide, which is totally cool, because that triggers your hemoglobin to grab more oxygen when it's available, right? So we're moving more blood around, we're bringing more oxygen to your tissues, we're fighting off disease, we're raising your core temperature at the same time, creating hypothermia. And so, boy, it's truly amazing. And also the near frequencies will stimulate mitochondrial support. So the whole process, the sauna brings you, earlier you talked about the autonomic nervous system, and we've done heart rate variability studies on all of our devices, and we can move you from being sympathetic dominant into parasympathetic. We actually calm you down greatly when you're in our sauna, which is really amazing. So if you start stacking our sauna with other technologies, you really, and modalities, interventions, you can really see a greater benefit than just from the sauna alone. So, okay, so the mid frequencies are a little bit of the near and a little bit of the far frequencies. And the far frequencies are what traditionally most saunas were, like 15 years ago, was only far. And they go maybe 2 to 3 inches into the body. They'll deal with heavy metals. They'll really create vasodilation in the larger vessels. So that's what really gets your metabolism revved up. And together, collectively, it's a brilliant cocktail. These days, it gets a little confusing because there's a big war between the near frequency product developers who say theirs is the greatest, and the far people say, no, ours is the greatest. So what I just did was I said, you know what? What's really the greatest is what nature gave us, the cocktail, which is all three. It's full spectrum. That's the idea behind it, right?
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense to you?
That makes so much sense.
Okay, so why do we have our head out? In our approach, it's kind of funny, but I took this little picture out because everybody can relate to that little pup with their head out, right? The head is out for particular reasons because, first off, if you've got a chronic ailment, one of the first foremost ways to fight off disease is by creating a false fever or a fever, right? Most airborne bacteria and viruses can't live above 102 degrees Fahrenheit. And uniquely, the lymphatic system kicks into hyper overdrive. It's 800 times more active at 102 degrees Fahrenheit core temperature. So think about how beautiful that is. There's a natural die-off at when you raise your core, creating that false fever or a fever, when you get up towards between 101.5 and 102. And at the same time, your lymphatic system is kicking into overdrive, gobbling up all these invaders. So that's kind of a reduced or a simplified way of looking at the way our immune system, the mechanism works. Well, we create a false fever. That sauna does it automatically because when you're in there, now keep in mind, your head and your brain is way more sensitive to heat than your body is. And so how do I heat your body up and get your core temperature up and not heat your brain up at the same time? Well, obviously having your head out, your head is now sitting at room temperature while your body I can really hit hard. And that's what rolls back to my earlier comment about our sauna goes up to 165, 170 in a blink almost, where all the traditional ones really struggle to get up that hot. And if you're really got a chronic ailment like Lyme disease, cancer, fibromyalgia, any of the microbial related stuff, autoimmune problems, you really want to do a hypothermic type of a therapy along with other things to create a great healing event, right? So we create false fever. The next thing is that if you're claustrophobic and you're in a cabin, that affects you. But when your head is out, you can enjoy the landscape of your apartment or your house or backyard. You can watch a movie or watch TV and so forth. We have these little zip outs, so you can bring your hands out and you can hold your phone or your tablet. Or my wife sometimes likes to multitask and she'll actually works on a keyboard stand and she'll answer emails and things like that. But the idea is that you're not confined. You don't feel confined, and that's pretty amazing. We've had people, excess of 300 pounds, excess of as tall as 6'7" in that cabin. So it looks kind of compact on the outside, but when you get inside, you can't believe how roomy it is. A very top-end dentist pointed out that people that still have amalgams, the heat in a traditional sauna will cause off-gassing of the mercury. And so another reason is that your head is out. And then earlier, you don't get that, contraction, expansion of the amalgam, so you don't have the off-gassing of mercury. And as you know, most people are carrying extra lead and extra mercury anyway from the foods they're eating and from our environment. You don't need anything extra from your dental work, right? So, and lastly, you pointed out this earlier about retoxing. So if you're sitting in a traditional cabin and you start sweating, of course you can see the big drops, but what about the little mist, that's in the air that you can't see, but still has your toxins in? Now you're working hard to mobilize them and get them out, right? So, and it's in that the micro droplets are in the air, and one of the fastest ways to get things into the bloodstream is by breathing, right? So I can't tell you exactly what percentage, but I can tell you that you do breathe some of those toxins back in when you're in those traditional saunas. So now with your head out, of course, you don't get that. So it's just, these are just, simply the 5 ways that we pointed out. I try to make it easy for everybody to get started. We're a very user-friendly company, and our front line, even though our goal is to try to touch every household in America with our technology, we really have a very strong relationship between us and the practitioner, and we set up a practitioner model. You just need to call our 800 number or just request us on the internet by the information on the screen, which is info@therasage.com. And then you'll be in touch with one of our lead agents on our side. We set you up with a practitioner package. There's no obligation to buy. We are not an MLM, so you just sign up, and then we just grow our relationships organically. We do offer wholesale pricing. We have affiliate codes. We have promotional codes. You're not held to any one way of doing business. If there's a business model that you have that we haven't really talked about in our own way, like a hybrid of sort, we'll just contour, our format to fit yours. So you just have to tell us what you like and how you like doing it. And then along with it, you get a consult with me. And I start working with the practitioners. And as soon as I understand a little bit about your demographic and or the flow of the kinds of patients, or even just your passion and your focus in your practice, I can show you the best ways to integrate our technology into your program and your profile so that it improves the efficacy of what you're doing. So with that, there's only one slide left, and I think that's you, Dr. Liu, isn't it?
Yes. So I want to just concur with what we are doing here is when you have a higher body temperature, you also create something called the heat shock protein. Heat shock protein has so much functions, so many functions, including killing cancer cells, also helping you to recover from sports, which I love to, just kind of reiterate to make it clear that sauna is not just detox, it's healing, it's getting grounded with Robbie sauna. You get actually grounded in there. So that's something I didn't learn until today. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We are recording this, so I'm going to stop recording and see if some of you may have questions, okay? Okay, thank you so much. Have a beautiful, healthy, happy, resilient 2020.